Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one we are going to work on Azure Firewall, and in this series we are working on AZ500 Azure Security Technology Labs. Last time I did some of these labs, it's almost a year back, and a lot of things have changed within Azure. And if you go over here, you see the most of the instructions, they were very recently updated, some of them only 6 days back. So just to reflect the new changes that we have within the portal. So in this lab we're going to look at the Azure portal and make sure that everything works in this particular lab and help you get started with that. So again, if you look at the lab scenario, you have been asked to install Azure Firewall, and this will help your organization to control inbound and outbound network access, which is very important as part of your network security plan. So we're going to create and test some of the infrastructure components like a virtual network with a workload subnet and a jump host subnet. So you will learn what they are, and if you are using those in a production environment, you probably already know. We're going to install or deploy virtual machines in each subnet, and we're going to custom a route that ensures all outbound traffic from workload subnet must use the firewall. Okay, so this is important. If you need to have security requirements and you need to inspect all of the traffic, you just cannot use NSGs to control your traffic. You need something more powerful, more intelligent, and that's where the firewall comes in. And we're gonna use the firewall application rule to allow only outbound traffic to Bing and block Google, of course, right? And then firewall network rules that allow external DNS server lookup. We're going to use the East US in general, just like any labs we have done. We have been trying to use the East US. Okay, so really the objective is to deploy and test the Azure Firewall. Good thing is we already have a template file that we can use to deploy this particular firewall, and we estimate that it's the whole lab will take about 40 minutes to complete. So let's get started. So the first thing that you need the template, and we have already done a whole bunch of template deployment, so you know how to do that. So we're going to download this template file, and it's under lab8 template.json. So we'll go up in here, open down to the instructions, we'll go down, and no, I have to go over here and then go to all files labs, go to lab8 template.json. I'll open it, click on the raw file, and then right click and save it in my downloads folder and hit save. And I'm going to replace, because I already have a template, that's fine, I'll replace this one. So once this is done, I'm going to come back to my lab, and we're going to start doing custom deployment. Okay, so you can search for custom deployment or deploy custom template. So this is something you need to search. Okay, and it usually shows up over here. Template deployment is what you need. Okay, so click on that one, and I don't need this, and click on build your own template in the edit. Okay, actually yeah, click on that one, and click on load file, and this one, go to template.json, and just open this one, and it picks up everything, and you just hit on save, and that will populate everything that you need for the most part. So let's come back over here, and then only for the resource group we're gonna change that resource group. So over here, resource group, we're gonna say create new, and create that particular resource group. And looks like everything else is automatically pre-configured, we don't need to do anything. And just see what it's deploying. It is instant details gonna deploy virtual machine jump, virtual machine service work, virtual machine firewall. It looks like it's gonna deploy a whole bunch of things. So let's see if I have enough resources in my free subscription to do that, and we'll go from there. So it's now trying to validate all the parameters that already came pre-configured, and it's trying to see if it's possible. Let's say yeah, you can do that. So you're going to end up deploying 14 resources, and you can now click on create, and that should create all the resources that we need for the lab. So let's just come back over here, and the next thing we are going to do is deploy the firewall. So for the firewall deployment, we're going to go and search for the firewall resource. So we'll let it deploy, and we can always go back here to see the state, so we can move away from this page without causing any trouble. And then I have no firewalls at the moment. Let's create one, and while creating, we're going to name the firewall as the test fw01. So, and I'm going to put it under lab 8, and the name is fw. I don't think I copied it properly, so just copy this one again, come back over here, and there is the name. And we know that we are using East US for the most part, so let's go up, East US, come back over here. And for the management, we're going to use the firewall rules classic to manage this particular firewall. Let's see, use firewall policy to manage. Instead of policy, we're going to use the firewall rules, that is classic, to manage this particular firewall. By the way, the other deployment, employee deployment, is now complete. And you actually can go to the resource group to see what is going on. We'll go there in a minute. So let's close that one. Over here, public IP address, click add new, and we're gonna call the public IP as test firewall PIP, that is public IP. So come back over here. It's asking for a virtual network name. We haven't done anything. We gotta do something there as well. Let's see. So this one is now good. Let's see, for the virtual network, use existing and select test FWVN. So that must be the network that's got created. So virtual network name, use existing, and test FWVN. So that's got created as part of the deployment that just got done, right? So that's great. So let's see if there's anything else that we need to do. No, we don't need to do anything. So everything else we're gonna keep as default, and then hit review, and then it's let it go through the validation, and then hit create. So that should create the firewall for me, and we will come back over here and create a default route, and that is going to be the next step in our configuration. Let's see, how big is the lab? Gee, this is pretty big. So let me take a quick break, and I'll come back, and we'll finish the lab. And while the deployment is going on, I'm just going to pause the video. Alright, let's continue with the lab. So we have now successfully deployed our firewall. If we come back over here, and this deployment is now done, we can go to the resource, and we should see this firewall that is available to us. Okay, so let's see what next thing that we need to do. So we gotta go back to the resource group, and it's asking to go back to the resource group, and then go to the firewall. So we are already in the firewall blade, so we're already here. And over here, identify the private IP. So let's see over here, firewall private IP is right here, right? So you want to copy this one, and I'm going to put it over here. Where am I storing? Here, maybe. So FW private IP, and I'm going to store that private IP of our firewall. And then the next thing, we're gonna now just creating the firewall is not enough. Now you have to tell, hey, don't use the Azure default route, rather you gotta create a route table and tell your traffic when you're moving, go through this firewall. So here first we're gonna create a default route. The default route for workload SN subnet. This route will configure outbound traffic through the firewall. Okay, so where we want to do, we want to create a route table resource. So let's just go over here, come back down there, route table. So open up the route table, and I don't think I have any route table right at the moment. So what we'll do, we'll click on the create, and we're gonna name this route table as the firewall route, and we're gonna put it in the same resource group. So this is the lab 8. We're gonna deploy to East US, and the name is going to be firewall route. Propagate gateway route, default is yes. Let's see if we need to do anything. No, so I'm just gonna go with the default one. Okay, propagate gateway route, I'm gonna keep the default one, and if you don't want that, then you would have to select the no. So click on that one, it's gonna go through the validation, then it's gonna create the route for us. Now just creating the route is also not enough, you gotta associate that route. So let's close this one, and we'll go back over here. Now what we will do, we will go back to the route table, and on the route table resource we're gonna go to the setting and subnet, and then we're gonna associate the subnet to this particular route table. So if you click on go to the resource, it will open up the route table, and then come back down to the subnet. Just like remember your NSG and ASG, you gotta associate. So here you come down to the firewall route, associate, and what do you need to associate? You need to associate this time virtual network. We're gonna associate the test firewall virtual network. So test firewall virtual network, and here in this one I have a subnet. Let's see, it's the workload subnet is what we want. So again, think about it, what you're doing, you are associating a firewall route for the virtual network, which is test FW firewall virtual network, and in this you have few subnets. You have Azure Firewall subnet, you have Jump subnet, and you have workload subnet. We want to associate the workload subnet to this particular firewall route. Hit OK. Okay, and ensure that workload distance subnet is selected for the route, otherwise the firewall will not work. Next, we're gonna go down to the route and then hit add. So now what we have done, we have associated this subnet to this route table. So even right now I don't have any routes, so now you gotta go back to the routes and then configure the route, so you can tell how to how the traffic flows through your network. So over here we're gonna call this FWDG. So come back over here, that is gonna be my firewall name. Address prefix is 0000. That means any traffic from anywhere. The next hop is your virtual appliance, and here firewall is the virtual appliance, so we're going to provide the private IP address of the firewall, and that is what we have copied. So copy that one, come back over here, go there and put the hop address. So what you're gonna say in this particular, okay, let's first save that one, then think about it, what we have done. So in this particular subnet, the subnet is associated with the route. The route has a route table, and it's saying any traffic that is come to that particular subnet, it has the next hop is that particular IP address, and which is the firewall that we have already deployed. Make sense? And then the next thing that we need to do, configure an application rule. So in this task we're gonna go down to the firewall again, go down to setting and then rules, classic. So over here, firewall setting. Oh, this is the route table. So you gotta go back to the firewall. So firewalls. Open up the firewall settings and then rules, classic. Over here we are add application rule collection is what we are gonna do. Here is your add NAT rule collection, and then here is your application rule collection. You come over here and click on add application rule collection, and in this one we're going to call it app collection 01. So name is the app collection 01, and then priority we're going to say okay 200 is the priority. Action is going to be allow, and then add application rule collection blade, create an entry target FQDN selection with the following setting. FQDN tags, I think that's what they're talking about. So name, source IP, source, protocol, target FQDN. Okay, so this is what you need to populate. Rule FQDN and target FQDN. So make sure that where you are adding it. So target FQDN is where you want to add. So name is the allow GH. So this is the target FQDN. So this is the name. Then IP address space is going to be source type IP address space, and the source 10.0.20/24, 10.0.20/24, 10.0. So that's some that's in the bigger address space that we have. And here protocol, we're going to copy this one and place this as the protocol, and the target FQDN you're going to use bing.com. So what we are going to do, so we are adding really a firewall rule collection where we're calling this rule and giving the priority 200. We are going to allow this rule when the IP address, the source IP address is 10.0.20/24 and is going to either port 80 or port 443, and when the target FQDN is Bing, is now allowed. So we hit add, and that should be updating the firewall rule set. So come back over here, and note, Azure Firewall includes a built-in rule collection for infrastructure FQDN that are allowed by default. These FQDNs are specific to platform and cannot be used for other purposes. Okay, we can next do a network rule. Again, we're going to go back to the rule classic, and this time we're going to add a network rule instead of application rule. Okay, so let's come back over here, come back to network rule, add network rule collection, and the way we're going to do, net call 01. So there we go, and this one priority 200. Okay, so interesting that you can have priority 200 even like a same priority for another type of rule collection. Okay, I'm just going to follow the lab, and then over here action is allow. Okay, allow is good. Now on the add network rule collection blade, create a new entry in the IP address section with the following settings. Okay, so with the IP address section is what we need. Everything else we can leave as the default. So allowed DNS is what is going to be the name of this, and then protocol is going to be UDP. And source type IP address and source address 10.0.20/24. So let's put that in here. Destination IP address and destination address. I have a couple of addresses in there. So over here, and destination port is 53. So that's the DNS port. So we got that rule, and hit add, and it should add that rule for us. There we go. Okay, making sure everything's working. Alright, come back over here. The next thing that we have to do, configure the virtual machine DNS server. So what we want to do, we want to go back to resource group and open up the SRV work virtual machine. So let's come back over here. I'm just going to search for that resource, and here's the virtual machine. I'm just going to click on it, and in here we're going to go down to the networking and go to the network interface. So here, networking, and then over here network interface is this SRV work 267. So click on that one, and on the network interface blade in the settings, click the DNS server, select the custom option. So DNS server and then custom option, and here is gonna telling you to, hey, you are customizing, so add the DNS server that you want to use. So we want to use a couple of DNS servers, so 209.244.03, and we're also gonna add another DNS server, so 209.444.04, both of them. And we are going to save this, and we can come back to the virtual machine blade, wait for the update to complete. Updating DNS servers for our network interface will automatically restart the virtual machine to which the interface is attached, and if applicable, any other virtual machines in the same availability set. So note that, so if you change, your machine is going to be restarted. So if I come back over here, just go to virtual machine, you might even see, no, it's still running, and we just worked on this one, SRV work. So this machine is most likely going to be restarted, stopped, and restart. Okay, so finally we have done a whole bunch of configuration, and now it's time to test the firewall. Okay, so to test the firewall, again we're going to go back to resource group, and this time we are going to go to the SRV jump server using the RDP connection. So SRP jump server, I'm going to copy the IP address. I don't have the Windows RDP client, so I'm just going to close this and open up our IMNA, and then create a IMNA connection, say yes, and I gotta get the username and password. That is the username for that particular jump server, and there is the password for it, and hit OK. And if, yeah, so it's now connected. So these following steps are performed in the remote day. So we for the rest of the work we're gonna do inside this jump server. Okay, so you come over here. This is the jump server again, 117.46.37, 117.46.37. So we are inside the jump server right here. Okay, so what we will do, we're gonna run, and what we'll do, we're gonna run this one from inside the virtual machine. We're gonna say run, and let's put it like that. Would it work? I will get the command window run, and from the run dialog box, run the following. So start in the right menu, click run. Okay, I can possibly just do that, and then you just hit run command. So all I did, clicked on here and pasted this, and we are trying to run this one. Again, we're going to provide this username and the password. Hit OK. What do you say? Okay, I'm gonna say yes. So what's happening from one virtual machine, I'm RDP, to the other virtual machine? Do you see that? 117.46.36.7. should be a service jump 117.46.36.37. So that is this one. So from that one we RDP to the SRV work remote desktop connection. So this is the work computer that we have RDP'd into. From the jump server we went to the server which is the work server. So it's a common scenario that a lot of people do. So they will stop the direct RDP connection to the production servers, and you will use a jump server, and you will log into the jump server. From the jump server you will connect to the other production server that you need to work on, just as a security measure. So within the remote server on SRV work, in server manager, click local server, and we're going to disable this internet enhanced security. So over here, let's just try to make it a little bit bigger. I already don't have too much of a real estate here. Gonna go click on local server, and I'll try my best to do this. Okay, so come back over here. So okay, IE enhanced security, I'm gonna click on it, turn it off, and this is happening on the SRV work server. Okay, so we just did that. Come back over here. Within the remote desktop session to SRV work, start Internet Explorer and try to go to the bing.com. So from within our session over here, we're gonna go try to open the Internet Explorer and use recommended setting, then bing.com, and hit enter, and see that we are connected to Bing, and that is, by the way, is allowed. What about Microsoft.com? Okay, let's try that one out. So come back over here and then enter, and look at that. It says HTTP request from 10.024, and with that port to Microsoft.com port 80, denied. Okay, so that's what we wanted to prove, that your firewall is actually working. So again, if you read this note, within the browser page you should receive a message with the text something like it's deny. This is expected since the firewall blocks access to this website. So at this time we have seen how to set up your firewall, how to add routes, and how to create the route table, how to associate a subnet to the route table, how to create the route, and we have also looked at a bunch of rules for our firewalls. So one last time before we clean up firewalls. So this is the firewall that we have created and tested. We configured our event DNS, and then we worked with the rules, and we created network rule and the application rule collection. There are other things in here you can explore on your own, but for the lab, those are the topics that we wanted to cover. So hopefully you have learned a little bit and be able to complete this lab on your own. We'll come back to Azure Firewall more and more in other videos in the future. So please subscribe to the channel, and if you like this lab, please give me a like. Happy learning Azure. Have a great day.